Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's Labour government says big pay increases should only be for the low-wage, and higher-paid workers may need to take effective pay cuts. In Fair Work Commission's annual review, they support the union's call for minimum wage to be increased by 7%, in line with inflation, to $22.88 an hour. But they warn that better-paid people should not expect an automatic pay rise in line with inflation, and instead may need to experience a real pay cut. The latest cost of living figures revealed that inflation had dropped from 7.8% in December, a 32-year high, to 6.8% in February. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's Labour government now recommends that higher-paid workers who do not earn minimum wages continue to receive below-inflation pay increases. In its presentation to the Fair Work Commission's annual wage review, the government supported minimum wage calls to keep up with inflation. But they were opposed giving every worker a wage increase equivalent to the cost of living and said their main focus was increase the low wage. It will be important for board to balance all the risks, while ensuring that real wages of low-wage workers do not go backwards, it said. This does not mean that wages in general should increase automatically with inflation, or that inflation should be the sole consideration in determining wages. Current economic conditions are expected to be exceptional, challenging and temporary. The government's recommended approach relates specifically to low wages in a macroeconomic context. Top Labour figures, including Treasurer Jim Chalmers, disputed Reserve Bank of Australia Governor Philip Lowe's claim that generous salary increases, for the low wages, could lead to a wage price spiral. While the Australian Trade Union Council is pushing for a 7% pay rise, the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry wants to limit it to 4%, including a 0.5% increase in mandatory retirement starting the 1st of July. When Fair Work Australia made its decision in June, ABS would release more comprehensive March quarter inflation data on April 26, followed by less detailed monthly April inflation data on May 31. Senior Labour figures say there is no wage price spiral. But in its presentation to Fair Work Commission's annual review, the federal government opposed giving any worker a wage increase in line with inflation except those earning minimum or low wages. Inflation may also have softened by then, and the RBA expects the annual Consumer Price Index to drop to 4.75% in December from 6.75% in March. The Fair Work Commission gave a 5.2% salary increase for minimum wage earners last year, slightly higher than the 5.1% inflation level in March 2022. Retail workers received a pay raise on the 1st of July, while accommodation and tourism workers had to wait until the 1st of October. This directly affected 180,000 minimum wage workers, but had flow effects on rewards for 2.7 million workers. Dr. Chalmers argued that with wage levels rising 3.3% last year, wages are not responsible for the rising inflation, meaning that most workers have been cut in real wages. But he noted that inflation is still a problem. While Wednesday's monthly reading shows inflation remains welcome, it remains unacceptably high, he said in an opinion piece for The Australian. The government's salary review presentation noted the possibility of falling inflation, saying that the probability of a wage price spiral is currently low. However, he argued that low-paid workers are more likely to suffer from high inflation and therefore need an ongoing salary increase. Furthermore, there are risks associated with permanent or larger than expected reductions in real wages for workers on minimum and reward wages, the statement said. This can have a significant impact on living standards of low-wage workers and cause low-wage workers to shoulder the disproportionate burden of macroeconomic adjustment needed to bring inflation down.